Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Jay's Fit Down Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Gay. Today, we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans once again. I feel like I've talked about the Texans a lot on my podcast recently, and that's because of the huge improvements that they've made, over the course of the last season. I mean, they made the playoffs last year with the rookie quarterback, C.J. Stroud, running the ship, um, and they just made a big splash in a trade with getting former Bills and Vikings wide receiver Stephon Diggs, bring him over to Houston in exchange for a 2025 second round pick. So we'll talk about that. I'll give my thoughts on the trade and how things just might shape out for the Texans. So I mean, the main gist here is like this team. Could we see the Texans possibly go to the Super Bowl? I don't know. Like, is this a team that's built to go to Super Bowl? Like, are they trying to get themselves in that position? Like, or could this team, the way they've constructed it, like over the last year or so, even in the offseason moves they made, um, are the Texans Super Bowl contenders? That's a question we're going to ask ourselves today. But before we get into that, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button in the right corner of your screen. Hit that subscribe button. We're also on all the audio podcast platforms. Check us out there. And also, I just dropped my fourth book, guys. Yes, I know my fourth book. It's crazy. I never would have saw myself writing, but it's called Connected. So it's not related to the Soldier series or anything or my other previous books. It is a completely different book, standalone. Check it out. It's very worth your time. I appreciate the support. It's very good. So make sure you check that out there. Called Connected is available on Amazon for purchase. So yeah, it is available for purchase on Amazon right now. I'll put the links to that in the description below. But let's get started. So Texans trade for Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs. Of course, Diggs and the Bills have been going through a little bit of you know, some issues lately. I mean, especially after last year, second half of the season, his production really declined. After Joe Brady took over being offensive play caller after Ken Dorsey left, and so Diggs did not see many targets. As he did the first few weeks of the season compared to the second half of the season, and his production declined. He also just wasn't playing like he usually was. And everybody remembers his big uh, drop in the playoff game against Kansas City and stuff like. So, just for some numbers on it. So yeah, like I said, trading for a 2025 second round pick, which is, if you might look at it, it's a little surprising because it's like you're basically getting, because they voided the last 3 years of his contract, the Texans did. So you're essentially getting Diggs on a 1 year rental. So it's like then he has a decision to where he wants to come back to Houston or leave and be a free agent. So after this year, now you may be wondering why the Texans did that. Well, in their mind, it's like if we know that we make it to where Diggs is on this deal, on this like little rental option, we know that we're going to get his best, because he's trying to get a contract. He's trying to get a bag. So, um, they're thinking that he's going to give them his best season, and so with that in mind, it's like, okay, we got Tank Dell, we got Nico Collins. I mean, now you add Stephon Diggs to that receiver room. It's very good. Like, they really have three number one receivers all on, like, in one offense, which is crazy to me. You still got Damian Pierce in the backfield and Joe Mixon as well. So like that offense is looking very deadly down there in Houston. So I think it was a good move. I mean, for the Texans, obviously. I mean, if you can get a guy like Stephon Diggs to come in, I mean, for the price of a 2025 second round pick, I mean, it's fairly, seems like a fair trade to me. I think the Bills did lose this trade, but you bring in a guy like Stephon Diggs, a veteran, and a guy who's going to help mentor those young receivers in that room, and knowing Bobby Slowick can do with that offense. I mean, it looks very exciting. What happens? It'll be very exciting to see what happens with the Texans next year. Just to think about, I mean, you're getting a guy who's really one of the best receivers in the league when he's like healthy at the top of his game. And I assume that he's going to get a lot of targets down there by C.J. Stroud, because you're giving C.J. Stroud a veteran. So it's like you're giving him a veteran out there who's very great route runner, good at separation. This is all when he's focused and he's healthy and he's out there, is getting his targets and stuff that he's supposed to be getting. So I think it's a good move. And add on to the fact that the defense, they lost a few pieces, but Will Anderson's going to be going into his second year with the season under his belt. They brought in Daniel Hunter from the Vikings, right? So it's like you know, the Houston Texans right now believe that they can be a Super Bowl team in the AFC. Like they think they can do it, and the question remains: can they be? I think it's possible. I mean, we saw C.J. Stroud was a rookie last year, and he was playing out of his mind. So add on the fact that you got you a number one receiver now, and you had one last year, really, when Nico Collins, and he broke out and had a great year. And so you add that, Tank Dell, like in a great running game, offensive line is going to be improved. I know they're making emphasis on that, so that's going to be an improved unit for them next year. So, I'm really things are looking bright right down there in H-Town, and Stephon Diggs was the icing on the cake, kind of to put it simply. So, I think it was a good move for Nick Caserio and that Texans front office to make. They wanted to go in on a splash player, and they did. Like Diggs, and so they're hoping to get the 2020, 2021, 2022 Buffalo Bills Diggs and Vikings Diggs. That's what they're hoping to get out of him. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, just for reference. At the start of last year, he was among the top 5 wideouts in receiving yards, 834 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, 41 receiving first downs. His route efficiency was also some of the best in the NFL. He ranked 7th among receivers in yards per route at 2.45, first and downs per route run 0.12. However, like I said, the only thing is about in the second half of the season, he started to decline a little bit. Didn't get as many routes, didn't get as many targets. The catches weren't there, and that part of it, like I mentioned, was Joe Brady taking over the offensive play calling from Ken Dorsey. So they were kind of going towards a more of a running approach, getting more targets to Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. So Diggs didn't really see much. James Cook as well got a lot of targets. Kahil Shakir, so Diggs, his production, dropped because of that. So they're hoping that he can come in and be the best version of himself that he possibly can be. And if he is, then the Texans are very dangerous, guys. I'm telling y'all, the Houston Texans are a Super Bowl contender. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. This team is a Super Bowl contender in 2024. Like, I think the Texans can go all the way and win the Super Bowl. Like, I mean, it's a possibility. Yeah, I know the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, but listen, like, C.J. Stroud has shown me like this dude is not afraid of the moment, and he's humble and he's a hard worker, one of the better young quarterbacks in this game. I think that with the team they're putting together down there and the culture they're building, DeMeco Ryans, I mean, he's got his guys believing in themselves, and it's so important. Like, people don't understand this part of football, like any sport really, but especially in football. People don't understand. You got a coach, and he's already established the culture. He's established how he wants the program, the franchise to be run. When he's got that, he's got that established, and everybody buys into that, then you're going to have a very successful football team. Like, and of course, your talent, the talent plays a part in it. You got to have talented players if you're going to win, of course. But another part of it is everybody's got to be on the same page and bought in to what the organization is preaching. And right now, the Texans are basically preaching like we're the Houston Texans of old. That was all the drama going on and all the the sloppy play. Like, that's not us anymore. We are a different culture. We're a different brotherhood. We're going to go out there. We're going to fight. We're going to be hard. We're going to be physical. We're going to play through the whistle, and we're going to make plays. And we're going to score points. That's the identity that DeMeco Ryans is trying to establish there in Houston. He really already did it in the first year. I mean, heck, they went to the playoffs at 10-7 with a rookie quarterback. I mean, like that. Most teams don't do that. They made, and mind you, they made it to the second round at that. Beat the Browns, went to the second round, played against the Ravens. Obviously, the Ravens were a much better team, and they just ran into a buzzsaw they couldn't overcome. That happens. But as they grow and they continue to get better, a Super Bowl appearance is definitely not out of the question for this team in the future. Maybe as soon as next year, possibly. Who knows, right? It's just all a matter of how things unfold for them this year and how Stephon Diggs works out. If he remains healthy next year and gives them his best production, like sky's the limit for Texans right now. And I never would have saw it coming like a few years ago. I'm like, man, this team, they might just be as bad as the Falcons franchise. It's like this team, like I feel like I used to feel like the Texans and the Falcons were like right in just the same boat, like two franchises who will just never do anything again, like just embarrassing franchises. But the Texans are proving themselves like they can change that narrative, and the Falcons are too. They think we want to get Kirk Cousins. They think that the playoffs are in the picture for them as well. So we'll see. But I just love it, man. I love the underdog, kind of vibe the Texans are giving off right now. And just like I said, D'Amico Ryans is an amazing coach, and they built together an amazing staff, some personnel. Players are remarkable. Bringing in Jimmy Ward from the 49ers too, so that's huge. I mean, I really love what they're building down there in Houston, and I think it's going to take them very far. This trade has got to work though for them. It's got to work, and even if it does, I mean, it essentially is like I said, a one-year rental. So if Diggs doesn't pan out, then now at the price you gave you the problem that some people are having though is that you're risking that at the price of a second round pick in 2025. That's the only thing. The pick that the Texans really could possibly need to continue to build around CJ Stroud. But hey, that's the risk you take when you trade for players like that. So, players that you think are going to come in and make a splash impact. So it's like a high risk, high reward type of deal. And you think about it, this is the perfect time to do these type of decisions, like to make these splash moves, because we got a quarterback on this rookie deal. And I mentioned this a bunch of times on this podcast, but we got a quarterback on this rookie deal. That is the best time to surround him with playmakers, with pieces that he needs to go and be successful, because they're not paying CJ Stroud that much right now. So all that other money is going towards positions that they need: offensive line, defense, skill positions. They need that. Going and getting guys like Joe Mixon and Diggs and Daniel Hunter, all these guys. Like, that's the perfect time. So, I love that format is very efficient, and that's how you're supposed to build your rosters when you draft a quarterback like that, because you're not gonna be paying him much money. So that is the time for you to build around him to ensure that he has success. Because when you put like we see with the Panthers and Bryce Young, when you put a quarterback like that in a situation where it's just like a bunch of it's just like a dumpster fire around him, he's not going to do well. The team's not going to do well. Carolina proved that. Lots of other teams have proved that over the past few years. So we'll see what happens with it. But thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Jace with Dal. Like I said, I wanted to talk about the Stephon Diggs trade, get my thoughts on that. Tune in for our next episode, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check us out on all platforms, audio platforms. We're on there. Follow us on Twitter, IG, TikTok, all that stuff. We'll see you next time. Jace with Dal.